I just blanked out and jumped out of the plane.
Welcome to Fishing Without Bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations. Whether you've got here on purpose or by accident, we're certainly glad you're here. Fishing Without Bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations, is about helping people, assisting people, exploding into their lives through full impact mindfulness. What we're doing is not looking to help people find themselves, we're looking to help people create themselves. And the only entrance requirement here is the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try. I'm Jim Ellermeyer, I'm a behavioral health therapist, and for those of you who are familiar with the show, and I most certainly hope that you are, what we like to do is share experiences of people and tell us how they got here from there and what happened in between. We like to promote people, we like to promote local artists and local people, give a platform to them to promote their own platform. And as a special treat tonight, what we have is a special guest, a very special friend of mine. I happen to love this person very much. I met her a number of years ago when I was attending a performance down at Hambones. It's I think it's defunct now. It was a place where people performed at, and this particular event was called The Girly Show. Not a burlesque type of thing, not what you think. It was an all-female review. And there I met a couple who became very close friends of mine, Miss Liz Victory and now Joanna Lowe Anchor. Joanna, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
As most of the people on this show know, I'm in love with the sound of my own voice. However, I believe that during this particular podcast, I'm going to do some serious, compassionate listening. So, would you share a little bit about your early years, how you became a spoken word artist? Lovely. Maybe you can again talk about the CD, the album that you had made, and how we promoted that. That's how we had you on the first time.
Yeah.
And then there have been some significant transitions in your life.
Yes, there have. Spoken word. So that happened by accident. I don't know if that was a story that I told the last time I was here, but I've been acting since 7th grade. I've been writing since 5th grade. Never thought to put the two together until I was attending the city's best open mic at Club Cafe. It's now at Mr. Small's. Somebody made me feel, or I allowed someone to make me feel very small, very stupid. And when I feel that way, I need to take control of something. And for whatever reason, I thought, what if I read some of my poetry at this open mic? And I texted one of my best friends who was in one of the bands there, and he was like, great, I'll back you up. And I immediately went, no. And he went, you're on the list. And I went, oh, shit. So I showed up, genuinely terrified. I had to have several drinks to even think about approaching the stage. And I've been a professional actor for years. I'm a published poet for years. The idea of getting up on stage and doing this terrified me more than anything else. And when they finally called my name, my friend had to grab my hand and go, she's here, and drag me up on stage. So I don't know if you've ever gone skydiving, Jim, but there's a moment where you're standing on a tiny little pedal outside of the plane, about the size of a Twix bar, holding on to the wing, and everything in your brain is telling your body not to let go. I mean, it's basic human survival instinct. And I remember when I went skydiving, I had to shut off my brain and throw myself back. That's what I did on stage. I got up on stage and I just blanked out and jumped out of the plane. I came to about halfway through the performance. I don't remember the first part, at all. Came to about halfway through, the entire room was silent. You literally heard a fork drop in the back. And then I finished the rest of the piece. And at the end, this is a very encouraging, very accepting audience, but they don't like cheers, whoop, scream, cheer often at all, if ever. And all of a sudden, the dead silence went to, whoa, and I jumped off the stage. I just dove off the stage to get out of there. And all night, my friends who were musicians, who I had been watching for about 6 months, well, this is shortly after my divorce, they came up to me and they were like, Joanna, we didn't know you did that. And I said, I don't. That was the first time I've ever done that. Oh, I failed to mention that my friend who said he'd back me up also recruited 4 other musicians to join us. So I performed my very first piece as a spoken word artist with a 5-piece improvisational jazz band. It was incredible. And every time I told people, like, I don't do this, that was the first time, they said, this is what you do now. And I tried to step away. I kept showing up at the open mic to support my friends and to listen to music. And they kept going, are you going tonight? Can I play with you? Are you may I accompany you? So I was shoved into that by the music community, thankfully. And they didn't let me stop. And I'm really grateful that they didn't. And then I was approached by a producer in the music scene that said, hey, Joanna, I want to produce your album. And I went, okay. And then I think I went back to him a couple weeks later and I went, what do you mean when you say you want to produce my album? And he was like, I set up the recording equipment. You get some of our friends to come and accompany you, and I produce your album. And I went, okay. And then we did. Got some of my dear friends, and we spent a day recording some of what I believed at the time and what the community believed, like some of my most solid pieces that I thought would make a good album. And you can listen to it on several different platforms, I think. It's called the Occasional Epiphany, and that's still out online. You can buy it, you can download it. So that's how I became a spoken word artist.
We had purchased a number of those, and I gave them all away. I wish I would have kept one.
Well, you can still download it.
Oh, okay. Could you let people know how that can be accomplished?
If you look up The Occasional Epiphany by Joanna Lowe, I believe there will be a couple different options. You can buy it on Amazon, and there's a popular musician platform that you can also download. There are a couple options.
Okay, so what we're talking here, just to backtrack just a moment, many people stay stuck in their lives simply because of their inability to deal with fear. So what we tried, fear is the most fundamental emotion that people feel. Mm. It's a corroding thread that goes throughout people's life. And we talk about often, there's a person by the name of George Adair, and one of his famous quotes was, everything that you want is on the other side of fear. Mm. No one is fearless. No one is fearless. So the idea about courage is the ability to deal with fear. So tell us about that.
Well, one, and I didn't come up with this, but it's occurred to me a lot, where being brave isn't doing something not afraid, it's doing it anyway. And I am glad that through different crises in my life, and in a moment where I still, the idea that that's what I chose to do, when I felt really awful, when I allowed somebody to make me feel very small, that's how I decided to take control of it. And what a powerful way to do that. I gave myself power. I gave myself space in that arena. And that's crazy to me. I'm thankful that
you
my
made
brain
a telling
did that.
statement. I allowed someone to make me small.
No one makes you feel small. You only allow people to make you feel certain ways. And I learned that a while ago. You might have been the first person to tell me that, maybe not, but no, nobody makes you. You made me feel. No, I may have done something inappropriate to you, but nobody makes you feel anyway. You only allow people to make you feel a certain way.
Yes, we give people permission to do that. Spirituality is a personal connection with something, and I thought, how could we possibly contribute more to people's lives like we're doing on the show? And as a result, I've made the choice to become an ordained minister, and as so, I am legally authorized to perform marriages in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Why choose our services over an established mansion of wood and stone? What we do is we offer a non-religious, spiritual-based, mindfulness-based type of bonding of two souls. We are based in the Pittsburgh area, however, am willing to travel and am open to any type of suggestions that would suit you and yours. Our goal is to make this day as easy as possible for both of you and have no worries. Let us handle the ceremony. Please contact the show for our rates and whatever we can possibly do to make that moment in time special for you and to create memories. So those early years when we first met, you were piecing together a life. You were piecing together a financial situation with your young daughter.
Yes.
And I know that you had a number of different jobs to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of those?
So my favorite job of my life was working for the med school at the University of Pittsburgh as a standardized patient. Almost no one knows what that is, but the best way to describe it, it's a very complex actor for students. It's a lot more than acting, and it's a lot more than improv, but it is challenging on almost every level, and it fits this very weird set of advanced skills that actors and artists have that don't regularly get applied in regular work situations. But we play different characters. We help them, basically help them not suck as doctors dealing with human beings. Because when they're cramming all the information into their head, the human part kind of flies out and they forget to look you in the eye. They forget to say, I am so sorry that your mother died. I hear you. They forget to ask permission to touch us. And so it's things like that that we remind them how to do. And you don't learn to do that without interacting with people. So everything from really complex emotional and psychological interviews to diagnostic cases to testing. We are responsible for their test scores in order to do certain cases. So that's what I mean by very complex. And it was incredibly satisfying. I was also a tour guide for Pittsburgh on the Gateway Clipper for 8 years. I loved it. Yeah, and I got to show off the city that I fell in love with against my will. When my parents moved me to Pittsburgh, it was still depressed, post-steel, awkward, dirty, ugly. I hated it. I didn't know why we had moved here. And then I got to see it pull up its bootstraps and go, okay, we're done. Now we're turning into something different. Technology exploded. Education exploded. Medicine everywhere. We're on the cutting edge of medicine. And I have goosebumps about that. And the art scene here, just thriving. No, almost no one makes a living making art, but that's kind of the world over. But the communities here in Pittsburgh are thriving and welcoming and incredible. If you have an idea, there will be someone or a group of someones that will support you. And I love that comes from that stubborn, blue-collar, don't tell me what to do, I'm going to do this attitude of Pittsburgh.
So how did you get that? I'm going to do it anyway, don't get in my way.
Well, the reason I started my own theater company was I had been involved in enough shitty productions, also some excellent ones, but I was like, if they only changed, well, if they only did with this little, you know what, I might as well do it myself. And so I just decided to start doing it myself. Good, bad, or ugly, it falls on my shoulders. And now I am the most fulfilled artistically, at least in the theater realm. I get to make my own magic. And my goodness, is it magic? Uh, I very rarely audition for other plays and other company. I really only step out when it's something that I really want, um, because not only so much of my brain space and energy is taken up with the projects that we do with Cup of Joe, but that's where the magic really happens.
I love it like this when you exude passion.
It's nice to feel it again. It's nice to feel it again. It's been a long time.
And your production company is?
Cup of Joe Productions.
And that name means?
So I'm obsessed with coffee. Before I became obsessed with wine, coffee was one of my first loves. And it's a play on my own name. A lot of people call me Joe, so Cup of Joe. And it's a name that is easy to remember, but it is also a reference to the fact, like, I founded it. And so my name's kind of wrapped up in the name of the company.
Could you tell us some of the plays, some of the things that you've produced and starred in?
All right. One of the productions I am most proud of was our Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. We rented a living room, basically the bottom floor of a mansion over in the east side of Pittsburgh. And I wanted to make sure that was my one vision for the production. I didn't direct, my brother did. But my one vision for the concept is this play is usually very voyeuristic. The audience gets to watch these couples tear each other apart. And I wanted to make sure, like, how dare the audience get to have distance from this? No. They are going to be as uncomfortable as the actors, the characters are on stage. And so we rented this massive living room and we put the audience in it. So it was basically about the size of this room. 30 people could cram, if they really tried, into the living room. And I'm sobbing and spilling vodka on the people in the front row. And the best compliment that we got, like people coming out and people mulling around at intermission, was, I can't imagine seeing this play any other way. Because instead of pontificating and being overdramatic for this, we could be as nuanced and awful and disintegrating and I already said nuanced, but realistic, relatable hurts. That's so much better. So I loved that. One of our most innovative was Titus Andronicus, Shakespeare's most violent play. And I was challenged with that. I was asked how I could justify doing that play in such a violent time of the world with everywhere. It still is, even though this was years ago. And I said, I don't want to glorify violence. I want to make the audience sick on it. I want them to see that violence perpetuates violence, and it's a choice. And we set it up so that every time the audience saw somebody choose violence, that's what perpetuated the next act and the next act and the next act. And it's all a choice. And I had buckets of blood surrounding the stage. And instead of using weapons, it was metaphorical. Every time somebody decided to kill or harm somebody else, they dipped their hand into a bucket of blood, killed the person, and then marked themselves, because you don't enact violence into the world without also enacting violence on oneself. So, and we had the cast in head to toe in white hazmat suits. So they started pure and ended head to toe in mud and blood. And we had a live heavy metal band that played original heavy metal soundtrack to the play, and that was outside in the backyard of an artist's house. So that's just a little of the very normal traditional theater that we do with Cup of Joe. I'm a classically trained actor, so is my brother, but what I've realized that I'm doing with the company is I'm taking traditional theater and I'm tearing it away from that traditional structure. I find traditional theater boring, and I love art, and I want to infuse these pieces with new sight so that the audience gets to see things with a new perspective. And
your
new
productions are not boring.
passion. Thank you.
And at the end of every podcast, besides offering a prescription for hope, which you can cash anywhere, we offer another one. Fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. Till all are free, none are free. Namaste.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast. If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.